July has officially come to an end, so now it's time to rank all the movies I saw this month. From worst to best, I saw 10 movies this month, so let's get right to the tier list. And as always, I'm going to try to go through this as fast as I can. Before I get started though, make sure you do leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy my content. It's free to do so. First up though is Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Gotta warn you guys for a second here that I didn't watch all of them to get prepared for this one. I didn't watch the third one, but I heard that one was the worst one, so I heard I wasn't missing out on much. But this was my first time watching, the first two, and then this one. I thought the first one was great. I really did love the feel of that movie. I thought Eddie Murphy just did a really great job with how young he was in that movie. The second one was a really big step down for me. I didn't really feel it was that special. This third one though, it's kind of like a mixed bag for me in some ways, because I would say the first 30 to 45 minutes is some really great stuff there, especially with the first like 15 minutes with him and like what was it, he was in the Zamboni, I think it was in from the hockey game. I thought that was just a great feel. And then I feel like once we got to the middle point and kind of like through that point and then exploring like him and his daughter's relationship, I was kind of over that. How many times have we seen nostalgia characters come back and all of a sudden they have a son or a daughter that they have a terrible relationship with, they have to repair that relationship. Feel like we've seen that story so many times in movies where older characters come back. I just feel like it's just gotten to a point where I don't care, and I don't even think her character was mentioned once in another movie. Maybe in the third one, but as I said, I didn't watch it, so I don't really know where her character came from. Eddie Murphy was pretty good, but I really do wish the other characters got more to do, and it just doesn't hit the same, because I feel like the other characters were a little bit older compared to Eddie Murphy. Even though Eddie Murphy is pretty old, I still feel like he had it in the movie. I thought he was pretty funny, especially with that one joke about the Lego cop car. I thought that was pretty funny, but overall it's a mixed bag for me, but I'll still put it in the okay tier. Next up we got Longlegs. This is one that I've been waiting for a couple months now. Neon made this one, produced and all that. This from Osgood Perkins. He's going to be doing the Monkey movie next year, and wow, this movie actually shook me to my core. It's one of the best movies of the year, easily the best horror movie of the year. I don't see anything beating this except maybe Alien Romulus. That's the only one, and Nosferatu. Those are the only ones that I could see beating it. This one, it had all the build up and hype to it. People calling it the scariest movie of all time. It's not really the scariest movie of all time, but in that person's opinion, it is. Just go and make your own opinion. That's what I did. And it wasn't the scariest movie of all time in my eyes, because it didn't really have a lot of jump scares, but it just kept getting under my skin more and more. Just made me so nervous, made me so anxious. I was like, this is just a little freaking me out just a little bit, because of how real it felt in some ways. There were some missteps, especially in a little bit of the ending there. I feel like the ending was a little too open-ended for my how I thought things would end. But I still feel like the whole idea of it being the serial killer and the birthdays and all that just makes it even creepier. And Micah Monroe as the lead, I thought that she was pretty excellent. She's been like a scream queen for a while now, with her biggest movie was It Follows, which is one of the biggest horror movies of all time. Not my favorite, but I still really enjoy it. And Nicolas Cage bringing one of the best performances of the year, just because he was just creeping me out. Just the way he looked, the way he sounded, and his one scene where she's interrogating him just creeped me out even more. So yeah, I really did love the feel of this one. I thought it's a very effective horror movie with a pretty low budget, doing terrific at the box office. So Longlegs is going in the amazing tier. My Spy the Eternal City is one I didn't have a lot of expectations for, considering I just watched the first My Spy like a week before this new one came out. The first one, it's alright. It's not really a movie meant for me. It's like it's for the younger audience, I'd say. This new one is a little bit for an older audience, because the actors have grown up a little bit. Dave Bautista though, I feel like he's actually very funny in this role, and I feel like a lot of people take him for granted, think he can only do like comedy with like this stuff, but I think he can do both. He's very good at serious acting, especially in like Blade Runner, and he's very good at funny stuff like this one. And then in Guardians of the Galaxy, he does portray a very serious character at times, but also just a very hilarious character at time. And I feel like the plot on this one was watered down just a little bit bit, especially with the villain compared to the first one. It still is, you know, a funny movie at times, a very silly movie at times, which is what the first one is, but it just doesn't have the same charm as the first one because the actors have grown up, and it's not Dave Bautista acting against, you know, a literal child now. He's acting against a teenager, so you get those, you know, teenager kind of things going on here. But yeah, it's fine. It has its moments, but it's nothing, you know, as good as the first one. Next up, we got The Imaginary, which is Netflix's next animated film by Studio Ponoc. I think that's how you say their name. I gotta say, when I first saw this trailer, I thought it was Studio Ghibli. I guess these two studios are very similar. I don't really know like the origins of where Studio Ponoc came from, if they're kind of some people from Studio Ghibli going around to make another company. I don't know. It kind of feels like a drama filled situation that I don't want to look up, or they're just two completely separate companies that have almost the same name and almost same animation style. Kind of crazy, but yeah, I went into this one not really knowing too much about it. You know, I feel like this one also has its moments and highs. I feel like the first half was its high, the second half let me down just a little bit because I felt like it was getting to a point where I'm like, okay, we're going a little too long here, because I think it's about I think it's almost 2 hours long. I'll have to double check that after finishing the video because I haven't watched it since it released. I know some people really do enjoy this one a lot, and I do respect them for that. And I like the take on like the imaginary characters and how you do forget an imaginary person, especially if you get involved in an extreme accident and growing up and all that, and how they're taken away and exploring different animated creatures, different imaginary friends. But at this point in this year, I've gotten a little bit tired of the word imaginary in movies and imaginary friends. I feel like this is like the third movie this year that I've watched about imaginary friends and has the word imaginary in the title, because we watched Imaginary, the horror movie, If, which is basically imaginary friends, and then this. It's like I've gotten a little tired of it. I think that, you know, I think we're just reusing some of the same ideas now, which is kind of funny because they're not even from the same studios. It's a different, you know, format, different genre. So it's a little weird how we're getting all these different imaginary movies. But yeah, I like some of the ideas, but at the same time, I thought it was just all right. Next up, we got Space Cadet. This is Amazon Prime's newest movie with Emma Roberts, where she, you know, wants to go to space very badly, but she doesn't have anything on her resume, didn't go to school for any of that. Her friend writes her a fake resume, and she gets in. Totally the fakest premise I've ever heard in my whole entire life. Nope, NASA's not that stupid. Nothing like that would ever happen, but, you know, I went along with it. I watched the movie. But sadly, it's one of the worst movies of the year. It's pretty bad. And you know, I went, you know, what's funny about this is that in my little review on Letterboxd, follow me if you haven't yet, I wrote, this is Amazon's take on a Netflix original movie, because, you know, Netflix usually has some of the worst movies of the year. They're known for it. They usually occupy my top 10 worst of the year. But this is like a Netflix movie. This is like that bad. I've never seen Amazon stoop that low. And Emma Roberts is okay in this performance. I mean, she's always pretty decent in her roles, but it just feels like the same thing that she's always doing, the same role that she's always playing. Just a silly girl that doesn't know anything and just doesn't have an education at all. So yeah, it's like I'm just seeing her in the same role, going from movie to movie to movie, and just the NASA parts just seem so fake and unauthentic because it's just not real. It just would never happen. So yeah, it just didn't entertain me that much, and it was just fairly, yeah, I thought it just insulted my integrities of, you know, just knowing anything about space, knowing anything about science fiction. So it just made me feel a little bit more stupid than I actually am. So Space Cadet's going in the bad tier. Now we got MaXXXine, which is the third and final movie in the Ty West X trilogy, of course, starting with X, then Pearl, now MaXXXine. Mia Goth has played lead characters in all those movies, and I gotta say, Ty West really did a great job with this trilogy. It, you know, averaged out to a pretty great rating for me for the whole trilogy. I think I rate this trilogy like an 8 across the board, and you know, even though I do rank them slightly differently, but I will say MaXXXine got the most heat out of critics and audiences yet out of all three. I know a lot of people didn't like this one as much. I think it is the worst one out of the three, but I still really enjoyed it. I think that there are some big changes that Ty West could have taken with this one, you know, especially because Lily Collins is in this one only for a little bit. I wish she had a bigger role in this one, playing against Mia Goth. I think that would have been really entertaining to see her play against her more, because she played against her and had a scene with her for like one whole scene in the movie, and I thought that scene was great. I wish she was in the movie just a little bit more. The whole story kind of wraps up in the way I thought it would, in just a little bit of a weirder way. Like the third act is really messy, it kind of can really tear you down the middle when you watch it. You can be like, oh, that's a little weird, because the third act is very, very weird. It tore me just a little bit, but still not enough for me really to not enjoy it. I still thought it was really good. Still thought it had amazing production design, a great soundtrack, great costume design. Mia Goth owns every single costume that she's in. She has a killer opening sequence, like always. Really delivers on her performance. Kevin Bacon was actually a great villain. I liked him a lot, so I'll put MaXXXine in the good tier. Despicable Me 4 is our next one. Another Despicable Me movie. We're getting these movies until we die, I swear. We're getting a Despicable movie like every 3 years. I'm not complaining. You know, I have a fun time with them. But I will say, like I said in my review of this movie, it's like a TikTok movie, and we all know what that means. A TikTok movie basically means just a bunch of nothing into a movie, and a bunch of, you know, quick scene after quick scene, a bunch of colors, boom, 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 flashing at your face. That's basically what a TikTok movie is, and this is basically that. I mean, it has a plot, but at the same time, it's just a bunch of random scenes mixed together, which a bunch of different colors and a bunch of, you know, ridiculous parts of the movie. But, you know, it's fun, at least. You know, it keeps some of the magic that we do love. I wish it focused a little bit more on Gru's double life. I love that part of the movie. Will Ferrell's villain, though, I thought he was absolutely disgusting. This little cockroach guy, and I just didn't feel like he had that much development for me to care about his character. And I hated Gru's son. I thought that guy was annoying. Get this guy off screen. Punt that kid off screen. That little baby was pissing me off. Like, what a little menace to society. I hate that baby. But I like the minions in here, and the Mega Minions weren't utilized as well as I thought they would be, so overall it just goes to the okay tier for me. Fly Me to the Moon actually surprised me a little bit, because it was actually better than I expected. You know, I went into it because it was the Regal Mystery movie, just expecting it to be, you know, fine, maybe bad, because it looked from the trailers not that great, kind of looked like a fake movie like people do say, but I was actually pretty charmed by it. I thought it just had a little bit of a special sauce to it in a couple points. I will say it is on this list of where it's too long. It's about 2 hours and, you know, 15 minutes, something like that. A little bit longer, a little bit shorter than that. And it got to the point where I'm like, okay, we've gotten to a point where you could have ended there, you could have ended there, but it's still going and going. Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson have some great chemistry. What's funny about this one is that Chris Evans was originally set to star, and I think it would have been great either way, but I really do love Channing Tatum. I like how he's getting you know, back into acting. It's not doing that great in theaters. I mean, it's not really a theaters movie. I don't know why Apple spent so much money on it, considering it wasn't going to make that much. But I did like the story. But you know, how they did the space landing in the movie and how they just showed us all that, it felt a little too much, because we've already seen that in movies so many times. So I didn't really see it again. Need to see it again. I thought that could have been skipped over, which could have made the runtime a little bit shorter. I think this could have been easily made at about an hour and 50 minutes instead of about that 2 hours and 10-minute mark. So I'll put it Fly Me to the Moon in the good tier, even though it is a bit too long. Now we got the biggest movie of the month and one of the biggest movies of the year, which is Deadpool and Wolverine. This movie just made about $210 million opening weekend. Huge, huge for an R-rated movie. I know some MCU haters are seriously going at it on film Twitter, but film Twitter needs to understand they're not the ones that matter. The general audience is the bigger population, the ones that matter, the ones that are seeing the movie, and guess what? It's doing great. Audiences loved it. All 3 times I saw it, the audience was going crazy, laughing a lot. I remember that this one time, I went out 2 times on opening night Thursday, and the second time that I went, the 6 o'clock time, my audience went crazy for the spoiler cameos that I won't discuss here. They went crazy. It's like the biggest audience cheer and, you know, gasp I've heard since No Way Home, since Endgame. Crazy moment. I love to be in a theater when that happens. That's the special part about going to the theaters. It was just an epic time. Some of the jokes in this movie really landed with me. I really just thought that it was really funny. Some didn't land, but of course you're never going to have a movie that has 100% of the jokes land with you. I will say though, it's not a perfect movie. I've lowered my rating just a little bit. I had it at 9, now I've had an 8, 8 or 8.5. It comes with the third act being a little too messy for me and a little bit too CGI heavy. Like they have the couple fights in the movie, and the final fight has like a CGI Wolverine double, which I think was too distracting for me, and I think could have been just it's just a cop out. I don't know why you couldn't have just have Hugh Jackman just standing there and doing his thing. I don't know why there needed to be a CGI double in that sense. Third act was a little bit messy. I really did love the first two acts, so I think that is where the movie truly shines, especially when the cameos, because they're actually supporting characters into this cast. They're not just, show up for 1 second and then leave. They're actually supporting Deadpool and Wolverine. And Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have chemistry off the chart. I think they play off each other very well, joking with each other, being serious to each other, and fighting each other. There's two specific fight scenes that they have, and they're both electric. Though they have one in the car, which is just, oh my god, one of my favorite fight scenes of the year, and put to a comic book movie. It's not in my top. It's not my top 10 of the year. It's not like in my top 15, but I still had a great time with it. I plan on seeing it one more time, so 4 times in total in theaters. But it's such an experience seeing like this movie in theaters, seeing Marvel finally getting their magic back. So I'm gonna put Deadpool and Wolverine in the great tier. Now for our final movie, which is Twisters. Twisters surprised me a lot, but not in a big way, because I already expected to really like it, because the trailers were pretty electric, had a lot of basically just charm in them. And Glenn Powell, it's his summer, as we like to say, with Hitman and Twisters, but he has all the charisma this movie really needs. And Brandon Pereira also brought a lot of charisma to this movie. They both kind of carried the movie for me. Brandon Pereira deserves so many more roles. Him and Nope in this, just he's electric in both of them. But him and Glenn Powell, as I said, really did carry the movie with their energy. They have just this burst of energy that you really feel in your body while watching the movie. The Twister scenes were really cool, really well realized. I saw this in IMAX, and it's like the Twisters are really there with you. Lee Isaac Chung directed this. He directed Minari too, and he just has a way with showing nature in the most beautiful way, the most respectful way, that I really just liked a lot. I feel like he really knows what he's doing with this craft and on location, because most of this was shot on location. Daisy Edgar Jones and Anthony Ramos are good. They're not great though. I wish they had a lot more to do. I think like that's the script's problem. There were a little bit too many characters in this for me to really care about all these people. But yeah, I thought it was just a very energetic movie, very charismatic movie at the same time. A lot of energy going through the roof with this one. I feel like it's just a big crowd pleaser, just like Deadpool and Wolverine. A great summer movie, and I wouldn't mind a sequel to this one. I don't know what you'd call it. Twisters, I don't know. Twister 3 times. I don't know what you'd call it if we get a sequel. It's funny, all the commotion on the internet is mad that they didn't kiss the end, because they did shoot a kiss scene, which I gotta agree with. I think it's pretty stupid to cut that kiss scene. Like, why not just have it in there? You know that they're in love and know that they're gonna do it. And he basically put his truck on the ground to go find her. So it's kind of funny how they cut the kiss scene out there, which is a mistake, but I really still have had a great time with it. So I'm going to put Twisters in the great tier. Now it's time for our favorite part, the final ranking on the terrible tier. There's no terrible movies this month, thank God. The bad tier, Space Cadet. Don't watch it. The okay tier, we got 4 movies on here. Let's go ahead and rank them all real quick. Beverly Hills Cop, I will leave it there. I will probably put The Imaginary above My Spy, The Eternal City, and I'll probably leave it like that. I feel like Despicable Me is the worst one out of those. The good tier, I will leave it like that, like MaXXXine, More Than Climbing to the Moon. The great tier, surprisingly, I'll put Twisters above Deadpool and Wolverine, because I like the feel of the nature, the beautiful essence around it. Amazing tier is going to be Longlegs, the best movie of the month for me. I just love horror movies when they're realized super well. But that's all the movies ranked for July. I hope you guys did enjoy. Hopefully August gives some more great movies. Leave a ranking down below, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.